rare and balanced view on politics in today's world. Based on facts, born of rationality, common sense, and logic, providing context on today's events. This is American Perspective with Rick Thomas.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to American Perspective. Oh, what a wild day. You know, about the only thing that I can say, though, is that it's starting up a little early in terms of the weather. And I'm not talking about the weather being a wild day, because the weather really isn't all that wild yet. But the wildness in some of these cities is starting to kick off, and the weather's about to turn bad. So it's going to be interesting to see what these leftist lunatics do in all of this. But I promise you, no matter how much you sit there and dislike them, or, you know, even go so far as to hate them, I don't, because I don't really hate anybody. Hate is, to me, is such a extremely strong word that, you know, the only thing that I would have to say as far as things that I would hate is you know, I don't know. I can't even think of anything that I despise that deeply to the point that I would say that I hate. But that being said, you definitely don't dislike the leftists enough. I got a few stories on that tonight. And some other things. So let's go ahead and get this kicked off. We shall start with Judge Wild up for tonight's Pledge of Allegiance. So if you are of mine, please stand, remove your hat, if you're wearing one, like me, and follow along with Judge Wild. Well, place your hand over your heart, of course. Follow along with Judge Wild as he recites the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Oh yeah, hoorah!
All righty. And of course, I thank you, Judge, for that wonderful rendition of the pledge. If you would like to hear your rendition of the pledge played here on the program, all you need to do is record yourself performing the pledge in your style, and then take that audio file, video file, whatever kind of file, and send it off to me. Send it to fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online. That's fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online, and I will get you into the rotation. I'm looking for number 20. I've got 19 right now, but I'm looking for number 20. Are you going to be number 20? You should. You know, Outlaw Dogs keeps promising to get hers done, but she wants me to appear on her program live and do it that way. I don't know if that's actually going to get, like, done anytime in the near future, because obviously being on the opposite coasts like we are, it's going to be difficult to tie things down for that. But anyway, all right, let's go ahead and hit tonight's headline sponsor, which, oh wait, before I do that though, I do need to tell you, and Bonnie, if she were here, would be very happy. The missus went out and picked me up some Four Roses single barrel, so there we go. Four Roses single barrel right here on the program, and it is being held by this fantastic vessel of awesomeness given to me by fantastic Whiskey Warrior P1s. There it is. It is the It Takes Stones to Drink with Whiskey glass. Look at that craftsmanship, that wonderful craftsmanship in this tumbler glass. Well, I don't think this is a tumbler. This is a rocks glass, but old-fashioned rocks glass, and there they are. There in the bottom, there are the stones, because it takes stones to drink with whiskey. And there it is, the fantastic. There you go. All right, let me get this drink out of the way. Well, it's been a while since I've had Four Roses. Wow. That hit up in the nose. All right. Now, thank you very much. Nana of JJS is another unofficial producer of the show. I think I've got like 2 or 3 of them. Well, pretty much any of Whiskey Warrior P1s are. But anyway, she just reminded me. I already had it in my mind to do this. Let's go ahead and move on to the next segment, which of course is On This Day in American History. Oh, and of course, for On This Day in American History, we read from the American Patriots Almanac, written by William J. Bennett and John T.E. Cribb, chock full of all kinds of factoids and wonderful information. I failed the last 2 weeks, so this is my penance, is to come back and get it done in the beginning. But anyway, let's go ahead and talk about Mount Rushmore. High on a granite cliff in the Black Hills of South Dakota stand the massive carved images of 4 presidents who led the United States from colonial times into the 20th century: George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Abraham Lincoln, and Theodore Roosevelt. Rising more than 500 feet above the valley, the 4 heroes seem to gaze over an evergreen sea to the rim of the continent. Danish-American sculptor Gerson Borglum, that's B-O-R-G-L-U-M, so Borglum, chose the site for Mount Rushmore National Memorial, declaring that American history shall march along that skyline. The mountain itself had been named for Charles E. Rushmore, a New York lawyer who once owned mining property in the area. On October 4th, 1927, the job of carving the gigantic faces began. It lasted for 4 years. About 400 workers toiled on the mountain, and many each day began climbing 700 stair steps to the top and strapping themselves into swing seats before being lowered by cable over the mountain face. Dangling in the air, they blasted and drilled away nearly 500,000 tons of stone, carving faces as tall as a 5-story building. Borglum's original vision was a sculpture depicting the 4 presidents to their waists, but time and money limited the carving to their heads. Borglum himself died before Roosevelt's head was finished, and his son Lincoln finished the work on October 31st, 1941. The Great Project reaffirmed Americans' dedication to democracy in a world increasingly threatened by bloody dictators. It reaffirms still. Mount Rushmore is not really a tribute to the leaders etched into South Dakota's Black Hills. It is a tribute to the people who chose such leaders and continue to choose them time and time again. It is a breathtaking place. And that is today's On This Day in American History. You know, reportedly, the overall project for that, by the way, was to actually have a archive room carved into the mountain behind the heads, and that archive room was going to house key texts and key elements of Americanism, like the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, all of those, and it was supposed to be sort of like a vault in behind the heads. Now, I have no idea if that's true or not, but I've heard it on a couple of different places, so maybe that's true. But anyway, there you go. All right. Oh, yes, Nana, thank you for letting me know. All right, today's headline sponsor is the Institute on the Constitution. The Institute on the Constitution was established in 2004 as a 501c3 nonprofit with one singular mission, and that is to restore the constitutional republic through grassroots education. All courses and materials are developed using primary source documents and taught from the American view of law and government as defined in the Declaration of Independence in the following 3 key points. 1, there is a God. 2, our rights come from him. And 3, the purpose of civil government is to secure and protect our God-given rights. The IOTC offers the opportunity to educate yourself on our most precious founding document, the Constitution of the United States. They also provide tools to educate your community and get involved with local government. Start by taking their free U.S. Constitution course and go from there. Use my affiliate link, iotc.americanperspective.online, to sign up. And while you are there, take a moment to look through their other course material and information. My affiliate link, once again, is iotc.americanperspective.online to get great content to learn about our historical founding and support the show in the process. That's iotc.americanperspective.online. Or if you just want to purchase this fabulous Saddleback leather-bound U.S. Constitution to support the show, go to constitution.americanperspective.online. Get one for your liberal friends and watch them explode with gastrointestinal distress. Sorry. This has got an eighth of an inch of Saddleback leather wrapped around pages that are water and tear resistant. And there's no cheap glue here, folks. It is stitched all the way through the leather and the pages contained within. It's got sexy rounded corners. And it is buddy tested. Buddy approved. Billy tasted, Billy approved, and my youngest whiskey warrior does confirm that the information contained within will help you study for and achieve your civics badge in scouting. Will probably help you pass that civics exam if they still have them. It's got a 100-year warranty against materials and manufacturing defects, such that if you have a problem, you can send it back to the manufacturer and they will either fix it or replace it for free. Yeah, you can do that today. Don't forget, it's also liberal or leftist repellent. My whiskey warriors are just running through on the chat and they're kicking things off. But anyway, head on over to constitution.americanperspective.online and get yours today. Also, don't forget to check out the rest of the Institute on the Constitution's offerings, as they have a plethora of information, wonderful books and things that you can get to help you learn about our historical documents in our wonderful country. And I thank them for allowing me to be a brand affiliate. Go and check the Institute on the Constitution out today. All right. What do you mean you can't cover it all, Nana? You should be able to by now. Holy smokes. Anyway. I'm just teasing. All right. Let's go ahead and kick things off. First of all, things are getting a little more wild and crazy in both Chicago and Portland. In Chicago, this just released today, ABC 7 Eyewitness News in Chicago is reporting that a woman was injured in a shooting involving federal agents on the southwest side of Chicago on Saturday morning. So the DHS issued a statement that said that its officers were patrolling in the area of 39th Street and South Kedzie, K-E-D-Z-I-E Avenue, in the city's Brighton Park neighborhood, where they were rammed by other vehicles and boxed in by 10 other vehicles. Officers were unable to move their vehicles, so they exited them, and one of the drivers of the car ramming was armed with a semi-automatic weapon, DHS said, and officers fired defensive shots. The alleged armed woman, who was a U.S. citizen, was injured and allegedly took herself to a hospital for treatment. The Chicago Fire Department later said that the injured woman was taken to a hospital by a CFD crew for a gunshot wound, and her condition was stable. Now, the woman is allegedly named in a Customs and Border Protection intelligence bulletin from last week for allegedly doxing agents online. There were no officers that were injured. DHS did say that they have a bit of a problem, meaning that the Chicago Police Department left the scene and refuses to assist DHS in securing the area. They said that there is a growing crowd and DHS is deploying special operations to control the scene. Border Patrol was also on scene, FBI, DHS, ATF, and Chicago Police were there. Chicago Police Department issued a statement saying that the CPD responded to the 3900 block of South Kedzie Avenue Saturday morning for a call of a person shot. CBD responded to the scene to document the incident. CPD officers were also on scene to maintain safety and traffic control for all living and working in the area. CPD is not involved in the incident or its investigation. Federal authorities are investigating this shooting, and all other inquiries regarding the circumstances of this shooting should be referred to the appropriate federal authorities. Folks, this is getting worse, and it's going to get worse, realistically, as long as the leftists, and like I said, like the title of this thing, you cannot dislike these people enough. As long as these leftists seem to want to keep fighting against this, which, again, it's totally illegal for them to do this. They don't seem to understand that if you impede or block the federal authorities from doing their jobs, you are breaking the law. Title 18, United States Code, Section 111. Now, protesting by itself is fine, but to sit there and try and do stuff like this, yeah, you're blocking the law. You're breaking the law, and you're blocking them from doing their jobs. In this particular case, they're blocking that's a pretty aggressive form of blocking. So, yeah. And it's, unfortunately, it's only going to get worse before it gets better. And, the one thing that that everybody with half a brain needs to understand, that if these cities and states would just enforce the law and back up the federal law enforcement arms, all of this would not be there. There wouldn't be a need to deploy the National Guard. All they have to do is do their job, their sworn duty to uphold the law. And none of this would be the problem. Now, I got a thing on Portland here in a little bit. But yeah, these people don't seem to understand this. Because to them, they're thinking that they're going to gain political points and they're going to gain special dispensation, I guess, for blocking all of this stuff. But the reality of it is that, folks, all they're doing is breaking the law. They're breaking the law. And these states, even though they say, hey, we're usurping federal law because we can. No, you can't. See, the Constitution, and this was actually a conversation somebody had where the Constitution states that, oh, yeah, because of the 10th Amendment, the states can actually do this. No, they can't. Because the 10th Amendment clearly states that if something is in the Constitution and prohibited to the states by it, meaning that it exists in the Constitution as a federal government responsibility, let me give you a little clue. Immigration is 100% in the federal government's purview. There is no state purview of immigration. It is 100% and has been backed up by court cases properly, by the way, that it is 100% in the federal government's purview. And there is nothing that the states can do about this. They all agreed, all of the states agreed when they joined the union that they understood that the Constitution itself, the federal Constitution, the U.S. Constitution, was the law of the land, the supreme law of the land. And these people, these leftist governors and mayors, are trying to make this into this huge debacle of a thing, and they are actually breaking the law. They're breaking their contract by doing this kind of thing. They need to support the federal agencies as much as they can. They need to support them. This is not a question. They need to support this stuff. And they're not doing it. And so the federal government has no other choice but, of course, to bring in other federal troops or federal agencies. End of story. You know, if these leftist Democrat governors and moron mayors would get on board and just say, hey, look, we're going to, continue this. We're going to help them. So, y'all need to get out. Well, they can't. They can't do that because that's a huge voting block, according to them. And they want to keep that voting block as much as possible. Sadly enough, they're choosing illegal voters over Americans. Well, Trump may get his own coin. Actual minted, treasury minted coin. I'm not talking about a commemorative coin that he created and sold. I'm talking about a true $1 coin. That's right, $1 coin, actual money. As soon as I get it up here. Yeah, here we go. CNBC announced this. The Treasury weighs minting a $1 coin with Trump's face for the U.S. 250th anniversary. Really? The Treasury Department is considering minting a $1 coin bearing President Donald Trump's likeness on both sides. Boy, wouldn't this make the left go completely berserk. Wow. I mean, seriously. So they're considering minting this dollar coin. The first draft of the coin is shown. I see it right. You can see it right here on the video. If you're on the audio portion of the program, I highly recommend you head on over to rumble.com, get yourself an account, and watch the video when I go live, because that would be fantastic. But anyway, so the first draft of the coin shows Trump's head in a profile on one side above the words "In God We Trust" and the dates 1776 to 2026. The other side mirrors the widely viewed photo taken of Trump the moments after he survived the assassination attempt in Butler during the campaign rally in 2024. And it has him, with his fist up. I'm surprised they didn't put the words fight, fight on it, to be honest with you. But I don't think they had enough. Oh, no, they actually did. I'm sorry. My bad. It is right there. Fight, fight, fight at the top. And so let's see if I can get it. It does have it in there. I didn't notice that. Fight, fight, fight. These are the proofs. The drafts. Man, I hope they do this. This would be fantastic. It's supposed to mark the quincentennial quincentennial. Wow, that's a mouthful to even say. Anyway, on it's the anniversary, the 250th anniversary of the nation's founding, depicting Trump's head in a profile. And yeah, so there you go. The U.S. Treasurer Brandon Beach wrote on X, "Hey, no fake news here. These first drafts honoring America's 250th birthday and at POTUS are real." Yeah. So Beach also wrote it, "Looking forward to sharing more soon once the obstructionist shutdown of the United States government is over." Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent reposted Beach's message from his own X account. A Treasury spokesperson told CNBC that a final design for a dollar coin to commemorate the anniversary has not yet been selected. So that was just a first draft. So, yeah, the commemorative coins will be legal tender, but they're not minted for general circulation, according to the United States Mint. So it was not immediately clear if the government has created any previous commemorative coins or other coins depicting a living president. Yeah, I can't think of one. Anyway. So, yeah. So a federal law signed by Trump in January of 2021, just a week before his first term in office ended, allowed the Treasury Secretary to mint $1 coins with designs emblematic of the United States 250th anniversary. So, but the same law, under a heading on standards for circulating collectible coins, states no head and shoulders portrait or bust of any person, living or dead, and no portrait of a living person may be included in the design on the reverse of any coin under subsections, etc., X, Y, and Z, it says. Subsection Y refers to the rules about the coins for the 250th anniversary. So, yeah. So apparently these will not be in general circulation. That's pretty much what it is. And the Federal Reserve Bank in San Francisco notes, to avoid the appearance of a monarchy, it was long-standing tradition to only feature portraits of deceased individuals on currency and coin. That tradition became law with an 1866 act of Congress, the Fed Bank added. Treasury Department did not provide a comment in response to CNBC's questions about the legality of the draft coin. Yeah, I think it would be cool just as a commemorative coin, but not putting it into general circulation. Let collectors buy it. There you go. I don't know. Anyway, that would be kind of fun. I still think it's hilarious. It's going to drive the left nuts as soon as they get a hold of it. Surprised they haven't already started. Maybe they have. Anyway. Well, the FBI has finally made an intelligent choice with regards to its connection to the Southern Poverty Law Center. And just for anyone who doesn't know, the Southern Poverty Law Center is a foremost mechanism for destroying those whom it fears and hates the most. It's not an impartial arbiter of what constitutes unacceptable hate. It's not a arbiter of, this is Americanism. It's not an arbiter of that. It's basically a leftist side job that the SPLC spent many years and untold millions of dollars smearing and defaming patriots, lumping them in with the likes of the KKK and neo-Nazis on bogus hate lists that were designed to marginalize and silence every effective opponent of the left's agenda under the guise, meaning under the mask of being an objective evaluation of genuinely malignant individuals and groups. Yeah, that's not so. The FBI has finally cut ties with them. So, there you go. And it's about damn time. It's about damn time. So the FBI has confirmed that it no longer relies on the SPLC for guidance about hate groups, which is good. So that was the Daily Signal that was reporting this yesterday. And in that report, it said that Patel said, quote, the Southern Poverty Law Center long ago abandoned civil rights work and turned into a partisan smear machine. Gee, how many of those organizations has that happened to? Anyway, the statement continues and says, their so-called hate map has been used to defame mainstream Americans and even inspired violence. That disgraceful record makes them unfit for any FBI partnership. So, yeah. Anyway. Yeah. It's just horrible. Yeah. And, you know, a lot of these morons that are running around here, these hateful morons, they actually use the SPLC as their, like, Bible guide to know whether things are, you know, a hate group or not. In 2012, there was a man who stormed the offices of the Family Research Council, intending to kill the entire staff. The moron later admitted, deranged moron, I should say, later admitted that he had targeted the FRC because the SPLC had tarred it as a hate group. Yeah. So, yep. There you go. Thank God they finally got rid of that guy. Or they finally got rid of that relationship, I should say. All right. Well, apparently leftists have not figured out that, you know, saying things in text to people who may not share your viewpoint probably isn't the smartest thing in the world. I mean, let's face it, these people are not the sharpest knives in the drawer either. They're kind of, you know, stupid. They're morons. Apparently, this Virginia Democrat, now this is what's even worse. I mean, it's a Virginia Democrat, I get it, but they're a candidate for the Attorney General of Virginia. I mean, really? This is who you want to be in charge of your state's law department, the Attorney General. Yeah, I hope this guy doesn't make it into office. But anyway, his name is Jay Jones, and he's facing scrutiny after text messages from 2022 surfaced in which he allegedly made violent threats against Republican colleagues, including former Virginia House Speaker Todd Gilbert. Trust me, you can't dislike these people enough. You can't get away from these people far enough. You really can't. According to the report, Jones sent multiple messages to Republican delegate Carrie Coyner, 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 in August of 2022, months after leaving the Virginia House of Delegates, in which he expressed violent intentions toward Gilbert. Let me show you what they look like. So here's the first set of texts. And the stuff in the gray is from Jay, well, whatever his name is. And anyway, it says, you know, hence the glowing tributes from the, he doesn't even, sorry, I'm going to be correcting a little bit of spelling here because he said form. Anyway, I do that all the time. So it's just, anyway. Hence the glowing tributes form the R's. Damn, that was for Mark. Sorry, Charlie. No worries. And he goes, talking about Joe Johnson, a D, but basically an R, leaked everything to your caucus. It's why Gilbert gave him such a glowing tribute. And the person responds, I knew what you were talking about. And Jay says, served with my dad, who had nice words with a little choice sprinkled in. Person response says, I didn't look at that. I just saw a guy died and assumed you'd have words. He goes, he was a D, meaning a Democrat. Next one says, they say nice things about everyone. Now here's where it gets a little dark. The J person says, if those guys die before me, I will go to their funerals and piss on their graves. Sent them out awash in something. Person responds as J. Jones. He comes back and says, 3 people, 2 bullets, Gilbert, Hitler, and Pol Pot. Gilbert gets 2 bullets in the head, or to the head. Spoiler, put Gilbert in the crew with the 2 worst people you know, and he receives both bullets every time. Really? So this guy in 2022 was, threatening to shoot, or threatening, basically, or wishing, I should say, death upon this Speaker of the House in Virginia. Well, this individual goes, Jay, please stop, the receiving individual. And then Jay, laugh out loud. And then he goes, okay. And then the person responding says, it really bothers me when you talk about hurting people or wishing death on them. No shit, Sherlock. Anybody should be feeling that way. Anyway, it continues. Apparently part of the conversation is cut off because it goes, you weren't simply asking questions and you know it. This is the person receiving it. And then Jay goes, I genuinely was. I wasn't attacking you. I was trying to understand your logic. The person receiving it says, you weren't trying to understand. You were talking about hoping Jennifer Gilbert's children would die. So not only is this person threatening the individual, but they're also going after the family. And this person, or Jay, responds back and says, yes, I've told you this before. Only when people feel pain personally do they move on policy. Folks, this is the problem. This is the entire problem here of the left. See, they believe that using violence to achieve their ends is acceptable. That is a playbook straight out of the Marxist ideology. That is a remnant of Marx. Marxism is a complete violent ideology. And that's what these leftist morons are focused on. This is sickness, people. I've told you this before. These people have decidedly given up the value of human life. And because they've decidedly done that, they are now basically saying it is perfectly acceptable not only to threaten death upon somebody, but if they do die, so be it. Which is part of the reason why the left went and cheered when Charlie Kirk got shot rather than feeling disgusted about it. Folks, these people are not people that we are going to be able to reconcile with. They're not. It's not going to happen. Regardless of what you may think, as long as you have a common foundation to work from, you can, generally speaking, get to a point, usually, where a fence can be mended, a bridge can be built. But these people don't even have a common foundation. They don't even have a common foundation to say that, hey, political violence is bad. They don't even have that. This is absolutely ridiculous to think that this person, this individual, is running for the attorney general of a state. Man, I hope this person is just absolutely obliterated in the votes, that they never, ever hit political office ever again. Straight up. These people are, they are acting as though they don't even have a human bone in their body right now. They definitely don't have a bone of decency. They don't care. To them, anyone who opposes their ideology or their chosen, we'll call it faith, is a target and should be destroyed and gotten rid of. Like Dan Bongino says, leftists believe you are bad people with ideas, whereas conservatives believe that you are people with that the left is people with bad ideas. There's a huge difference between those two. And if you haven't figured it out or haven't been able to like look at it that way, seriously, these people, you got to get away from them. You got to get away from them as best you can, because they have not a single ounce of humanity left in them when they're sitting here threatening not only the speaker's life, but also the lives of the family and kids. Seriously. Well, anyway, here's another person who, she is just completely off her rocker. First of all, she's the one that admitted that she was a DEI admission in Harvard and then curses anybody who brings it up about it, even though she admitted it and said so. Well, she was in an interview. This was a while ago, and she was talking about her mother's migration from Guyana to the United States. And, well, let's just say, probably not what you really want to say, but hey, let's go ahead and listen to Joy Reid explaining this on this interview.
I mean, and as somebody who's, my parents, my father was from the Congo and my mother was from Guyana. And so they were the immigrants who came here on purpose and they got the rude awakening. My mother got the rude awakening, like, oh, it's racist here. that's weird. For some reason, she went, nobody told me, why go to Crystal? Yeah, she's like, tell me this is the land of opportunity, but not for me. It's weird. But I am familiar. I mean, and as somebody who's, my
Okay. So here she's basically saying that her mother came over and was basically, confronted with racism. Now, she doesn't necessarily specify when her mother came over. I'm going to guess maybe in the 1960s, prior to the 1960s, just as a guess. But here's the kicker, okay? She talks about this whole thing where she says, my mother got the rude awakening, like, oh, it's racist here. She was like, they didn't tell me this is the land of opportunity, but not for me. Okay. Here's the problem. Look at Joy Reid. See, this land of opportunity that a lot of people don't seem to understand isn't necessarily the land of opportunity where you yourself are going to automatically make it successful. What makes America great is that it is a generational improvement, meaning that I have a better life than my mother did, or father, both parents. My children are supposed to have a better life than I did. I sit here and look at this and say, you know what? There's a lot of opportunity here, but you got to be able to reach out and take it. Now, here's the thing. Joy Reid makes $3 million, or she did, at MSNBC. She was on a nationally televised show. That's the definition of a really good life. Not only that, but she got it because of her skin color. I mean, going into Harvard because she was a DEI candidate. I mean, she basically says, hey, I got accepted to Harvard because I was black. She admitted it on video. And I'm just sitting here and I'm scratching my head and I'm going, what the hell is wrong with you? It's the same thing with Don Lemon. Don Lemon is, when Don Lemon interviewed Morgan Freeman, and Morgan Freeman basically threw it back in Don Lemon's face about racism in America, where Don Lemon was saying, well, what do you think about racism in America? And Morgan Freeman goes, there is no racism in America. What do you think? Where do you think racism exists? I mean, look at the two of us. And he's right. Look at people like Denzel Washington, Ice-T, Ice Cube. You could pick any number of black actors and actresses who have all benefited by being here in this country. Did we have a little bit of a racist past? Yes, at the hands of the Democrats, by the way. We got to throw that out there. But joyless. Yeah, that's what I call you, Joyless Reid. You're sitting here and you are clearly the purest or the perfect example of what this country can do for you. Even J.D. Vance calls her out on it. J.D. Vance says, hey, Joy Reid has had such a good life in this country. It's been overwhelmingly kind and gracious to her. She is far wealthier than most, yet she oozes with contempt. My honest, non-trolling advice to Joy Reid is that you'd be a much happier person if you showed a little gratitude. Well, that, she responded during an interview published on writer Tommy Christopher's Substack. For those of you that don't know, Substack is a kind of a, let's call it an independent creator space where you can go and just, if you're a writer, you can go to a Substack and you can create your own Substack and you can make people subscribe to it or whatever. But, yeah, I'm just sitting here and I'm looking at this and I'm like, what the hell is wrong with this? Now, she was in this Substack and she apparently was on this interview and she got pissed. She got mad. She told J.D. Vance she basically said, F you. And she went on to call Vance a racist a-hole and dismissed his comments as an attack on her background. What part of what I read to you was an attack on the background? All he was basically saying is like, yeah, you're a little bit above everything else. Maybe you shouldn't be so contemptible about American life because your salary was $3 million a year. You were on a nationally televised show. I mean, people. These people have nothing but contempt regardless of where they come from all day. And it's most of these elitist mentality that they're sitting there and they're looking at you and they're going, yeah, America is such a racist country. Yet Don Lemon, up until the point that he got stupid, was on his own show in front of millions of people watching, making buku bucks. This woman was on her own show, making all kinds of money, buku bucks. Now, Joy Reid was talking about speaking for every black woman who was offended by Vance's rhetoric, pointing to a November 2024 campaign speech in which he criticized then candidate Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris was trash, even though that's what he said that. This woman is so oozing with hate and totally does not understand the opportunities that she's been afforded by the fact that her mom and dad came over here. I mean, this is just has nothing to do with race to sit there and say, and question your vehemence against the very country, which this is part of the reason why I get so pissed off about Hollywood types. You're sitting here and you're going off on this country when this country has made you a very, very comfortable life. I mean, this is ridiculous to sit here and say, Now, I got a question for Joy Reid, too, because Joy Reid also brings up the fact that her mother earned a PhD and became a college professor and achieved success. Even though she may have come here during a potentially racist time, she still succeeded. And when you compare to the average salary in Guyana, which is $5,000 a year, believe me, a PhD and a college professor's salary and the life of just living in this country is a hell of a lot more. A hell of a lot more than what you would have had in your home country. And so why are you sitting here disparaging the very blanket of not only freedom, but opportunity that the country provides you? Why? It makes no sense to me. I mean, you should be, honestly, joyless. You should be thankful over all of the stuff that you have been able to do. The simple mouthpiece that you've been able to be given to espouse this bullcrap that you do every single night or day or whatever. And not a single thank you to the men and women of the military, the law enforcement, the government itself, the founding fathers who created the foundation that this country could have created to make it so that you, Joyless Reid, could show up on our shores and become a millionaire. Telling you, you cannot despise these people enough. You cannot dislike these people enough. She is so damn lost in the weeds. All right, well, let's shift over to Portland and other sanctuary cities. Here in Breitbart, actually, let me get one of these things before I shift gears. Let me go ahead and get one of these out of the way here. Yeah, let's talk about Rumble Premium. I haven't done Rumble Premium in a couple of days, so. All right, you've probably noticed that Rumble is growing fast and it's not slowing down. They're building a real alternative to big tech that puts creators first and actually protects free speech. And now there's Rumble Premium, an easy way to upgrade your experience. With Premium, you get ad-free viewing across the platform. No pre-rolls, no interruptions, just the content you came for. Like this show right here. Plus, premium members unlock exclusive content like bonus videos, behind-the-scenes drops, and more from your favorite creators. I need to start doing some of that. Anyway, right now, Rumble is offering $10 off an annual subscription to Rumble Premium. All you have to do is go to rumble.com/premium. And for those of you who don't know, the / is the question mark key on your keyboard. Go to rumble.com/premium, use promo code STUDIO, STUDIO, at checkout, and you'll get that $10 off your annual subscription. Go to rumble.com/premium and use the promo code STUDIO at checkout to get that $10 off. That's rumble.com/premium, promo code STUDIO, STUDIO. No ads, more freedom, and content that you actually care about. That's the deal. Go to rumble.com/premium, use promo code STUDIO, STUDIO, and get that $10 off your annual subscription. Go to rumble.com/premium today. All right. Yeah, I am live with Rumble Premium too. Okay, so let's talk about this. Sanctuary cities got a blow today, according to Breitbart, or got a blow recently, I should say. Maybe not today, but according to Breitbart. So apparently I'm Icky Ricky now. Sorry, that was in the chat. All right, Breitbart says judge rules against sanctuary cities will not stop Trump from cutting off federal funds. Yeah. A federal judge ruled against 2 sanctuary cities this week, ensuring that President Donald Trump can move forward with blocking certain Department of Justice grants to such jurisdictions that refuse to cooperate with ICE. So earlier this year, Trump signed 2 executive orders, both designed to get sanctuary cities to cooperate with ICE as they enforce federal immigration law. Again, just pointing this out, you guys would have a much quieter city and you wouldn't have to stand on your soapboxes and talk about the federal government taking over in your cities if you would just frickin' enforce the law that you are sworn to do. That's it. That's it. But no, you guys don't want to do this. So Trump signed those executive orders. The sanctuary cities of Chelsea and Somerville, Massachusetts, filed a lawsuit claiming that they would suffer irreparable harm if the orders took effect. On Thursday, Judge Nathaniel Gorton sided with the Trump administration and against the sanctuary cities. He wrote in the ruling, this court acknowledges the nuances and complex relationships that characterize the administration of municipalities and how they prioritize constituent services. These complexities notwithstanding, the cities still bear the burden of demonstrating to this court how it is not just possible, but likely that without injunctive relief, they will suffer imminent and repairable harm. Plaintiffs have not done so. For the foregoing reasons, plaintiffs' motion for preliminary injunction against defendants is denied. Folks, seriously. Seriously. If they refuse to cooperate with ICE, then they're just going to have their cities, have federal forces engaged in them. That's it. So, yeah. Anyway. Dale Wilcox with the Federation for American Immigration Reform, called FAIR, filed a brief in the case saying that sanctuary cities continue to refuse to cooperate with ICE and have sought out the courts in an attempt to block Trump's fierce immigration agenda. This is the problem again, folks. This is the problem. That these people don't seem to get this. Immigration is 100% on the federal government, and you guys, meaning the cities and towns and states, are supposed to back up the federal government, especially when rounding up illegal aliens. So, yeah. Anyway, it's a good thing. This is a good thing. Don't get me wrong. Well, since this ruling came down, now Trump, and I'm not saying these are related because they're not, but Trump directs the admin to review the federal funding to Portland amid this anti-ICE anarchy. Now, you know, Nick Sotor got hit. So did Katie Davenport, got hit in Portland. And Nick Sotor was arrested. And by the way, they're apparently, I don't know this for sure, but I've heard that they are apparently, the Portland police are saying that if anybody drives down a street that is blocked by Antifa, that they will get arrested if they drive through the protesters. I hate to tell you this, folks, but yeah, the minute that you step out onto the road and start impeding traffic, yeah, you've now become a target. Just saying. Anyway, President Trump has directed his administration to hunt for federal funds to slash in Portland, days after Secretary of War Pete Hegseth was ordered to unleash all necessary troops to secure the war-ravaged Oregon City as anti-ICE protests rage on, the White House officials said. I just spoke with the president about this, and he has directed his team here at the White House to begin reviewing aid that can potentially be cut in Portland. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt announced during a rare Friday briefing. He says, we will not fund states to allow anarchy, and there will also be an additional surge of federal resources to Portland immediately. Law and order will prevail, and President Trump will make sure of it. So, yeah. Now, you add that to the fact that that judge went ahead and said, yeah, I'm not going to back these sanctuary cities anymore, which all federal judges should do. But all of that said, now it looks like Portland might have some problems. So, since June, wild protests have rocked the south of Portland area where Antifa agitators, some of them in bizarre getups, have swarmed an ICE detention center, vandalizing the site as violent clashes with federal agents erupt. Federal immigration officials say the facility has been under attack for more than 100 straight nights, with little backup from local cops, who have been reportedly ordered to stand down by city officials. Portland ICE Office Director Kamala Wamsley told Fox News' Bill Melugin that the nightly protests have spiraled far beyond chance and signs, with bottle rockets fired at the detention center, rocks smashing windows, cars blocking barricades, and lasers aimed at officers' eyes. Now, again, I'm just going to point out, all of this falls at a minimum under 18 United States Code, Section 111, which immediately means that they need to get arrested. She also added that protesters have even stalked ICE staff to their home and doxed employees. Again, doxed employees. This is why they have masks on them. You know, you morons, you leftist morons who are sitting here complaining about the doxing of or complaining about the masks being worn by these people. Folks, seriously, all you have to do is stop trying to follow these people around and stop trying to, dox their families and put their families at risk. Anyway. So yeah, this is just crazy. And it was right outside the ICE facilities, by the way, that reporter got a black eye. That was Katie Daviscourt got the black eye. Anyway, these people are just they're nuts. That's what they are. They're incredible nuts. That's all that they are. And yeah. Anyway. All right. Well, we got a little bit more information with regards to some collusion between the mainstream media and the government in order to manufacture the whole Russiagate thing. So this piece in the Federalist talks about some recently declassified documents that indicate that there were some leaks of classified information to reporters that were designed to portray Trump as in league with Russia. Folks, I mean, if you can't look at this with an intelligent eye and understand that there was a full-on undercover, under scrutiny, leftist or operation to try and destroy Donald Trump, and he was able to get through all of it. And I'm not talking about just Russiagate. I'm talking about Russiagate. I'm talking about the lawsuits that he's had to endure, all of these other things. If you can't sit there and look at this and realize that this was a coordinated effort by leftist lunatics to make an individual, Donald Trump, out to be some sort of a villain, well, you're a leftist moron if you don't see this. So these recently declassified documents indicate that people close to former FBI Director James Comey and Democrat Senator Adam Schiff were connected to leaks of classified information to prominent reporters designed to portray Donald Trump and his allies as being in league with Russia. Written in 2017, these documents, these FBI documents, expose how selected Washington reporters, including one from the Washington Post and another from the New York Times, scored a series of Pulitzer Prize-winning scoops by repeating false and inflammatory leaks during the President Trump's first term. Much of their reporting has totally been debunked and shown to be part of a smear campaign by high-ranking officials to undermine Trump. But the identities of those leakers have remained hidden because of the government's apparently unwillingness to expose its own, and the refusal of reporters, of course, to identify the people who misled them and the nation. Although the heavily redacted recent disclosures do not specifically identify the suspected leakers, a RCI, Real Clear Investigations analysis of the documents strongly suggest that people close to Comey and Schiff, among others, were feeding the reporters information in advance to advance the Russiagate hoax. So the new disclosures included previously sealed testimony of an FBI informant who had worked on the Democrat side of the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence for more than a decade, who told agents that, quote, all hell broke loose after Trump's surprising 2016 election win. In February 2017, this informant asserted that Schiff, who was a House member, hatched a plan to weaponize U.S. intelligence to smear Trump in the media as a Kremlin conspirator, with the goal of triggering his impeachment. Schiff was the ranking Democrat member of that committee at the time. The source told the FBI in August of 2017 leaking the information was one way to topple the administration. I mean, isn't this sedition? Isn't this seditious conspiracy then? I mean, shouldn't we be looking at Adam Schiff and possibly charging him with seditious conspiracy at this point? Anyway, Schiff formed a Russia team, according to this, within the committee to view and disseminate classified material on Trump that it requested from the CIA and the FBI, according to the informant. Main team members allegedly included Schiff staffers, and there's a couple names here, Schiff's staff director, there's a name there, and his communications director, there's a name there. I'm not going to name them because at this point, these people allegedly orchestrated the smear campaign. A spokesperson for Senator Schiff categorically denied the allegations and claimed that the FBI informant was a disgruntled former staffer who was fired by the House Intelligence Committee in early 2017 for a pattern of inappropriate conduct, including mistreatment of staff and compromising activity on foreign official travel. Records, however, show that the informant left the committee in September of 2017 and had made his allegations to the FBI in interviews with agents while he was still on staff, according to these interview reports. So, yeah. According to the source who considered Schiff a friend, he told agents that he was called into the 2017 meeting in which Schiff specifically authorized leaking classified dirt to reporters. The interview report said, in the meeting, Schiff stated that the group would leak classified information which was derogatory to the President of the United States, Trump. And this is a memorialized or memory of the Monday, February 13th of 2017 staff meeting in an email that he sent to himself the next day. Schiff stated the information would be used to indict President Trump. Obviously, Schiff has denied the allegations. The FBI has subpoenaed some of the California lawmakers' communication records, but he's never been charged with a crime yet, although he is currently under investigation for possible mortgage fraud. Yeah. So, yeah. There you go. Folks, this is crazy. This is nuts. These people are just sitting here and they're consistently doing this over and over and over again. I'm telling you, you cannot dislike these people enough. You cannot dislike these people enough. At all. Okay. One more. This one is Sunny Hostin on The View. No, I'm not going to play her video because this is ridiculous, but she apparently was on The View, and this was Thursday's show, and she was saying that those who identify as pro-life but that own firearms or support someone who says, uh-oh. Sorry about that. We had a little bit of a bounce. Give it a second. It'll come back. We had a disconnect. So sorry about that, but I had a disconnect here. Warning came up and I was like, uh-oh. Anyway. All right. So, just to continue on with this, yeah, I should be okay. So anyway, as I was saying, the discussion was following the recent remarks where the Pope said, someone who says I'm against abortion but says I'm in favor of the death penalty is not really pro-life. Someone who says I'm against abortion but I'm in agreement with inhuman treatment of immigrants in the United States, I don't know if that's pro-life. Well, this guy, I mean, okay. There's a difference. I'm just going to point this out. There is a difference between God's law and man's law. Okay. Man's law has to deal with immigration. You can be pro-life in abortion and own a weapon and support immigration enforcement, because again, that's man's law, and also support the death penalty as the punishment for breaking man's law. This is part of the problem that I have with a lot of churches and especially popes and priests and ministers and everything else who are not looking at the actual biblical references here. He's attempting to try and equate all of the three. You can't. And so is she. She's trying to equate all of the three. This is not the church doctrine, okay? There is evil in this world, and it must be vanquished, sometimes through death. There is nothing that you can sit here and say that, hey, yeah, I'm pro-life, meaning that you're pro-life for innocent people. That's the point. The innocent people. If you commit a crime, you are no longer considered innocent. If you commit sin, you are no longer considered innocent. See, there is a difference. There is also a difference in owning a weapon, because she talks about AR-15s in particular. There is nothing wrong with owning a sporting rifle. There you go. I'm just saying. There's nothing wrong with owning a sporting rifle. Now, she keeps talking about her being Catholic. I'd want to ask, and I'm serious about this. I want to ask these people who claim to be, I'm a practicing Catholic, like Biden, for an example. You cannot be a practicing Catholic and agree with abortion, period. You cannot be a practicing Catholic and agree with being, having, at least calling out the fact that being gay is not a sin. You cannot say that. Cannot say that gay is not a sin. It is. It is a sin in the Bible. If you are a biblical follower, it is a sin. Now, whether or not you're sitting in judgment, though, is different than whether or not you are trying to hold other Christians accountable. That's the point. You cannot be a biblical follower and follow along with some of the church doctrines even today. The same thing goes with having a woman who's a priest. You cannot do that. That is not allowed under biblical doctrine. Regardless of what you may think or want to say about it, it's not allowed. Now, women can serve in the church in other ways, but they are not supposed to be a priest or a pastor or a minister or anything else. And these are the signs that I see really quickly, whether or not a church is following biblical doctrine or not. And they don't seem to understand this. And so she's sitting here and she's saying, well, you know, I'm a Catholic. I'm a practicing Catholic. She says it right here. I'm at least consistent as a lifelong Catholic. Really? Are you? She says, I'm against abortion, but I'm also against the death penalty. I'm also against guns. What does being against guns have to deal with being pro-life? Just because you own a gun doesn't mean that you are intending on using it to murder another human being, which, by the way, that is the correct interpretation of thou shalt not murder. One of the 10 Commandments. It's not thou shalt not kill. It's correctly interpreted as thou shalt not murder. Murder by itself indicates an innocence to the individual. So sitting here and claiming that you're a lifelong Catholic and that you're consistent, that's wrong. In fact, Jesus in the New Testament even talked about his apostles getting swords and carrying swords to protect themselves. Of course, they don't talk about that. They don't talk about that. So, yeah. Anyway. Again, these people, if you can't dislike them enough, they are warping and twisting even God's words to turn themselves into something else. All right. Couple of final notes here. So apparently there's a federal court that actually has read the Second Amendment and understands the proper interpretation of the Second Amendment. But before I get to that, let me go ahead and do this really quick. Let's talk about coffee. I love my coffee. I have to have my coffee every day. I do. It's just, you can call it an addiction if you like, but I have to have my coffee. And I have it in my 16-ounce mug that says, Father like no other, given to me by my 2 wonderful children for Father's Day a few years back. And I love that thing. But if you still haven't tried 1775 coffee, now is your shot. The 1775 starter kit just dropped. There's only 1,000 units that are available. In each kit, you're getting the bold dark roast that hits hard. You'll get the smooth medium roast, and you'll also get to try the Vitality Mushroom Coffee for clean energy and laser focus with no crash. All of these coffees are single origin, small batch, toxin-free, and mold-free. Plus, you're also going to be getting a gold spoon clip because freedom isn't scooped with plastic. You'll also be getting a frother strong enough to stir up your coffee and your mother-in-law's opinions. My guess is she's probably about as opinionated as my mother-in-law was. You'll also receive a black 1775 tumbler. All of these things are $170 worth of coffee and gear. Yours for just $99. That's it. $99. This is for the ones who've been watching 1775 blow up on Rumble and wondering if it's actually worth it. Spoiler alert, it is. Go to 1775coffee.com/studio, STUDIO, and grab your starter kit before they are gone. Go to 1775coffee, that's the numbers 1775coffee.com. And the / key is your question mark key on your keyboard, /studio, and grab your starter kit. Bold beans, clean fuel, and a morning routine that stands for something just like Rumble does. Go to 1775coffee.com /studio and grab your starter kit today. All right. Well, here's the thing. So we're out. We're talking about the federal court. So the federal court finally, woke up And there's a federal court that has ruled that bans against carrying firearms in post offices are actually unconstitutional. Wow. Definitely not Karen says, what if your mother-in-law has the same political opinions as you? I bet she has other opinions, though, not just political ones. I bet she has other opinions that might not be a part of yours. Anyway, in a win for the Second Amendment, a federal court has ruled that bans on carrying firearms in U.S. post offices are unconstitutional. So here's the thing. It's Chief United States District Judge Reed O'Connor handed down an opinion in the Firearms Policy Coalition et al. Versus Bondi, where the Firearms Policy Coalition was joined by the Second Amendment Foundation in challenging the federal law against this. The ruling applies to carrying firearms on property surrounding post offices. So O'Connor wrote the law that law is unconstitutional under the Second Amendment with respect to the plaintiff's possession and carrying of firearms inside an ordinary United States post office or the surrounding post office property. There's nothing in the order limiting it to Texas and applies it to all members of the Second Amendment Foundation and Firearms Policy Coalition. The complaint was originally filed in June of 2024, and the named defendant was then Attorney General Garland. The complaint said that if the government seeks to restrict firearms in a particular location as a sensitive place, it must prove that its current restriction is sufficiently analogous to the well-established and representative historical analog. And this is interesting. So what Judge O'Connor actually struck down was the federal statute 18 U.S.C. 930A and the United States Postal Service Regulation 39 CFR 2, Section 232.1, looks like L, that prohibited firearm possession and carry at ordinary post offices, not those situated on military bases or within multi-use federal complexes. Such rulings, whether favorable to Second Amendment rights or against, highlight the decades-old debate between the left, which absurdly blames gun violence as if the firearms themselves committed the crime, and the right, which correctly asserts that the only thing that stops a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun, which is true, which is absolutely true. So anyway, yeah. This obviously is going to be like, I'm guessing that it's going to be appealed or whatever. Or maybe not. I don't know. We'll have to see. But this is a victory, a true victory for the Second Amendment and the rights of the people to keep and bear arms. Well, another victory in the court system. Another victory in the court system. The Supreme Court yesterday allowed President Donald Trump's administration to strip legal protections of the more than 300,000 Venezuelan migrants, read illegal aliens. But anyway, the justices issued an emergency order which will last as long as the court case continues, putting on hold a lower court ruling by U.S. District Judge Edward Chen in San Francisco that found the administration had wrongly ended the temporary protected status for the Venezuelans. You know, what does it take for these people to actually realize this? Okay? The temporary protection status is administered by the administration, by the Attorney General, and they can be stripped at any time. It's not like this is a law. It's not like this is just something that, you know, magically appears and so on and so forth. It's in the law. They can take it away at any time. It's temporary. Again, these people don't know how to frickin' read. Anyway. So yeah, of course the three liberal justices, you know, they dissented. But anyway, So yeah, he's going to get a chance to take that out. So that's cool. Ending TPS status, which again is the right thing to do. The right thing to do. All right, folks, that is it for me for this evening. Do me a favor, if you haven't already, head on over to rumble.com, get yourself an account. It is free. And once you are signed up and signed in, make sure that you hit or search up the American Perspective channel and hit that green follow button to get notified every time I go live. Also, too, don't forget to hit those thumbs up or thumbs down, or in the case of 3 Chevy, who is not present tonight, a thumb sideways. Across all of my platforms, whether it's X, YouTube, Facebook, and, of course, the aforementioned Rumble. We will see you tomorrow night, not tomorrow. Tomorrow's Sunday. We will see you Monday at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, right here on American Perspective. You know, have a great rest of your weekend. And, again, we'll see you on Monday. So have a good night, or I should say good night, everybody. We'll see you on Monday, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern time. Good night, everybody.